Hi everyone, my name is Dina. Today I'm going to show you how to make my Afghan earrings. We'll be using some round duo minis as well as Miyuki size 8, 11, and 15 O's. So gather up those supplies as well as your bead nut board and about 3 feet per earring of dragon thread size 8 thread, and I'm using the green today. Gather it all up and meet me back and I'll show you the first step. Alright, so for the first step we're going to do a double right angle weave stitch. So if you're not familiar with that, then I'll show you how to do it real quick. And we'll do a couple of rows before we go on to the next step. So to start off, we're going to put 4 of our 11 O's on our thread. I have just enough to where I can hold on to the end of it and everything. And then we'll go through that first 11 O that we added. We'll go back through that one. And then when you pull tight, you should have a little box looking like that-ish. Somewhere around in there. It's kind of a little wonky, but that's fine. To make it a double right angle weave, we're going to pick up another 11O. We're coming out of that first bead here. We're going to go through the second bead. And then when you pull tight, whoops, and hopefully not drop it. When you pull tight, it kind of puts it almost kind of like a picot in between the two beads. So we're going to do that 3 more times. So add another 11O. Coming out of this one, then we're going to go through this one. Add an 11, coming out of the one, go through the next. And then when you add one more 11 and go through that last 11 that we haven't gone through yet, and if you want, you can go ahead and catch on to that first bead, or you can do it one bead at a time. When you pull tight, and my thread's a little twisted. Try to untwist that. There we go. When you pull tight, you have more of a diamond shape. So that's your double right angle weave. So on this next part, we are going to add a 15. Yep, that's right. 15, a round duo mini, and a 15. We're coming out of this point of the double right angle weave. We're going to go through this point. And when you do that, you're going to have to kind of finagle your beads a little bit to where they sit correctly. And they should sit just like that in between the two. So it's a 15, a mini, round duo mini, and a 15, and then go through the next point of your little diamond shape. And then play with the beads a little bit, because sometimes they don't want to cooperate, and have them sit correct. I'll go ahead and do the last 2 with you as well. Last 2 sides. And then I'll let you get caught up so we can move on to the next step. And this earring I named Afghan earring because I grew up crocheting and cross-stitching. But crocheting I started a very long time ago. Been crocheting for almost 40 years now. And at the end of this, it kind of made me remind me of a blanket that I am actually currently making. So that's why I named it Afghan. So I'm coming out of that first 11O. We are going to... that's right, I'm going to stop there so I can get you to catch up. Almost forgot. So get to that point, meet me back, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so now we're done with that first step. We should be coming out of that first 11O in that diamond portion of the double right angle weave. We want to move through that first 15 that's sitting there and go ahead and move through the round duo mini as well and come out of the round duo mini. So from here, we're going to add an 11, an 8, and 11. We're coming out of the one round duo mini on that first hole still. We're going to go through the next round duo mini on the first hole. So we're still just using the same hole that we did from the previous step. And here again, you may have to kind of finagle your beads a little bit if you need to. I like to put my needle through the 8O just the 8/0, don't go all the way through it with it, but then just tug on your thread a little bit, and then that helps to kind of get that 8/0 to stick out a little bit better. So again, it was an 11, an 8, and an 11. Go through the first hole, the same hole of the round do a mini, and if you need to, just put your needle through that 8/0 and then tug on the thread a little bit, or if you need to kind of punch that 11/0 down closer to the round do a mini, that'll help too. And then that is this next step. So finish up those two sides, and I will meet you back to show you the next step. When you're finished with that step, you should be coming out of that bottom hole, or that original hole of your round do a mini. Our next step, we're going to continue through the 11/0, and then continue through the 8/0 and come out the 8/0 that's sitting there. You may have to take this one bead at a time, and that's perfectly fine if you need to. So now, sitting on top of our 8/0s, we're going to add our last 4 of our round do a minis. To do that, we're going to pick up an 11/0 this time, a round do a mini, and an 11/0. And now we're going to make a little right angle weave section by going back through the 8/0 in the same direction that the thread's going in right now. Here again, you may have to finagle your beads a little bit, and it should sit something like that. Now it's going to be a little wobbly and a little wonky, but that's okay. Next couple of steps will get that to even out. So you want to go back through, or continue through your 11, your round do a mini, 11, and then come out the 8. If you can catch on to all the beads, just makes it a little bit easier. If not, like I've said before, take it one bead at a time. So now you're coming out there. We're going to add the second one, so an 11, a round do a mini, and an 11. Create a little right angle weave or a raw unit by going back through the 8/0 in the same direction that the thread's going in right now. And then finagle the beads to where they sit like that. So finish up those last two sides, and I'll show you the next step. So when you're finished with the previous step, you should be somewhere either coming out of an 8/0 or you may be coming out of an 11/0 sitting close to the 8/0. So what you want to be doing is coming out of your 8/0, so that way you can get set up for the next part. You're coming out of the 8/0. My thread is coming out on the right hand side of this 8/0, so I'm going to go up the right hand side 11/0, sitting next to it. Then we're going to go through that bottom hole of the round do a mini that we added on this step. And then we're going to go down the left hand side 11/0 on the other side of the 8/0. So we're coming out, going downwards on the left hand side of that 8/0, or through the 11/0. Now we're going to add, gotta cheat, figure out which beads I'm adding first. So we're adding an 11 and a 15. We're coming out of that 11/0 right here. We're going to go through the original round do a mini sections, but through that open hole that we haven't gone through yet. And then that puts beads on that side. Now we're going to pick up a 15 and an 11, and then we're going to go through the 11, the round do a mini, and then the 11 that we just added on this previous step. So we're coming out in the same direction that we were the first time. So from here, it's an 11 and a 15. If you get lost on which beads to add first, just remember the beads, or the round do a minis that are in the center, the first ones are going to have the 15s on either side of it. So if you get lost on which ones to add or get mixed up, then on this side of it, we're going to add a 15 and an 11, and then go up the 11, round do a mini, come out the 11 on the other side, and add the next section. So finish those last two sides up, and I'll show you the next one. So when you're finished with that previous step, you should be somewhere around in here. And then go ahead and pass through your 11 and 15 that you added on that step. So that way you're coming out in between the two 15-0s that are sitting on top of the original round do a mini. From here, we are going to add a 15, an 8, and a 15. We're coming out of that 15 on the right hand side of the mini. We're going to go through the 15 on the left hand side. And then just follow through all the beads that we went through this previous step. And if you can, just make sure you're not going to break anything, because sometimes wiggling the beads and everything is what you need to do. Now, just like on one of the other steps, you may have to kind of finagle your beads a little bit to get that 8-0 to sit up more on top, like that. So continue on through the 11s and the 15 on this side, and then you're set up to add another 15, 8, and 15, and then go through the next 15, 11s, round do a mini 11s, then 15, and continue on. And then just before you get too far, make sure this is sitting the way you want it, where it sits kind of like a picot, like that. Alrighty, so go ahead and finish up those two other sides, and I will show you the next step. When you're done with that step, your earring should look something similar like this, and it kind of looks cute right now. But in this step, I'm going to add some 8-0s around the edge to give it more of that border that you would normally see on an Afghan type blanket. So to do that, I'm going to add 3 of my 8-0s. I'm coming out of the 8-0 that's sitting right here. And then I'm going to go through the open hole of the round do a mini on the corner. And that puts your beads like that. Now on the round do a mini, we're going to do an increase and a decrease with our beads. So we're going to start with an 8-0, a 11, and then a 15, and then an 11 and an 8. So we're adding 5 beads. And we're going to round out through that round do a mini sitting right there. So we're going to get our thread and needle going in the same direction that we're in now. And then that gives a little bit of a peak there on the top. Sorry, that cream bead is kind of hard to see sometimes. Then we're going to pick up 3 more of our 8s. We're coming out of that mini. We're going to go through the next 8. That's in line. So we're going to pick up 3 more 8s. Coming out of the 8s, we're going to go through the mini. Then we're going to do an increase decrease. So 11 or 8, 11, 15, 11, 8. Then we're going to put these beads on top of that round do a mini. Oops. I missed. There we go. Then we're going to pick up 3 more 8s and go through that next 8 on this side. We're going to go through this one. So that's the steps on this outer edge. So go ahead and finish up the other 2 sides and then meet me back, and we only have, I think, 1 more step and we're done. Okay, so for this last step, we're going to add our wire guard on. So we're coming out of the 8-0 that we originally started on this previous step. All we're going to do is we're going to pass through the 4 8s and the 11, and then come out the 15, and we're going to add our wire guard on top of the 15. So pick up your wire guard, go through one side, up through the wire guard, go down the other side of the wire guard, making sure the thread stays in that channel that's sitting there. And then I like to pinch my wire guards because I like for them to sit a little bit more tighter on top of my beads. So I have it pinched now. Then I'm going to go back through the 15 that's sitting there, making sure the thread still stays in the wire guard, and then I'm going to go through the wire guard one more time. Now if you like, you can be set and done. You don't have to do this next portion of this last step if you don't want to. But I'm going to go through this outer part of the 8-0s one more time to kind of straighten them all up. See how they're kind of wonky a little bit? Some of them are facing this way and that way and all that. So I'm going to go through them one more time and I'll help kind of straighten them up. So I'm continuing through that 11 and through all the 8s on this side, at least as many as my needle will let me go through at the moment. And then I'm going to go through the 8 and the 11 that are sitting on top of the round duo mini, but I'm going to skip over the 15 and then go through the next side. And when you do that, that will kind of stick your 15 to where it kind of pokes out a little bit better. And then that is all I'm going to do on this side. So just go through all the beads that you can, skip your 15, then continue on through the 11, and then all the 8s. And in doing so, that kind of straightens up your side a little bit better, to where your 8s are sitting a little bit nicer. And then this is the side that we started on, so we need to go through at least half of these beads, because we started off in the middle through that middle 8-0. I started off through that bead right there. So the only other thing we need to do is tie off our thread. All I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my product to the back here, and then I'm going to follow my thread path, and I'm going to weave myself down to where my beginning thread is at, so that way I can add, or I can tie my thread ends together and then tie it off, burn it down and everything. After that, you just need to add your ear wire. I'm going to be using one of these ear wires today. To open it up, you just need to twist it to the side, so that way it's twisted for you. And then you just put your earring on top like this, if it'll let you. If it does not let you go this direction on it, just take your ear wire, drop it in, because that is the front of your product, like that. Then you twist that closed, pinch it a little bit if you need to, and then your earring will be complete once you get everything tied off. Thanks so much for watching my Afghan earrings. They look pretty cute. I hope you like them as well. So, don't forget to like and subscribe so that way you'll know when Potomac Beads comes out with new videos. Also, if you need any products, don't forget to go down to that description box down below. They should have some links there that you can follow to go to Potomac Beads website. That way you can purchase anything that you're needing. So get ready for that next video, because I know it's going to be a good one.